Hey everybody, it's me, Zach, this is Judy, and welcome back to our channel. Hey everybody, it's me, Zach, and I am back again with another recap of our favorite show in the 1,000 Pound Cinematic Universe on TLC, the 1,000 Pound Besties, starring Megan, Vanessa, Tina, and Ashley. Now I know last week I was somewhat critical, and I still am, of ways that they could improve this show, because I think they have some stuff that they could work with. I think they just need to reevaluate what they're having these girls do to make it seem more authentic. And I think a lot of you resonated with a lot of that, and a lot of you said also though that you just appreciated that this show was different from 1,000 Pound Sisters in the sense that I don't know, they're not constantly fighting and arguing, and they're actually supportive of one another. And I appreciate that too, and I think that that is really highlighted throughout this series, and especially in this week's episode as well. So I do want to say I really appreciate that. I also did want to touch on somebody talking about how Megan was just so involved in everybody else's life but couldn't get a hold of her own life and figure out her own problems. Because, we saw that clip of her, or that scene of her trying to encourage Tina to go see Dr. Proctor. We've also seen her really pushing for Vanessa to move out of her sister's house. And so I definitely understand that. And definitely if we were talking about the Slayton sisters, I would automatically 100% say, y'all need to worry about yourselves first. Because, we know on 1,000 Pound Sisters, everybody was more concerned about everybody else than they were themselves. And to some extent, I agree with that here right now. But I think that I do appreciate that they do care about and worry about each other, because they actually seem to care about the input of the other people. Whereas when people were so worried about Tammy, or when Tammy was so worried about everybody else, it was clearly a deflection of their own issues, right? Tammy would only ever bring up what Amy was eating to deflect from her own issues that she was having with eating. And same for really anybody on 1,000 Pound Sisters, honestly, in my opinion. But the difference here is that I feel when Megan is doing these things, it's not because she's trying to avoid her own responsibilities, it's because she actually genuinely does care. And I don't want to say that Amy and Tammy don't care about each other, because I think that there's somewhere in there that they do. But it just feels like the motive for why they're bringing up other people's problems is different. Do you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Does that resonate with y'all? So I do just want to say, I think the actual best part of this show is how much they have this sisterhood to some extent, and they're all ready to prop each other up, build each other up, and support one another. So anyways, we'll get into that more for this episode, because I think that there are some really good examples of that. Actually, right off the bat, there's an example of that. So this episode picks up from where the last episode left off. So they're in Florida for whatever reason, why that was necessary for TLC to do that when they're all struggling with staying on diets and things like that, but I digress. They're in Florida. Megan just had that crazy night of drinking where she kind of made an ass out of herself. I mean, we've all been there at different points when we've been drunk. If you drink, you know what I'm saying. So it's the next morning, and they're waking up, and Megan's super surprised she's not hungover, which I don't know. I have no idea how much she actually drank. We just saw what she drank on the show, but if we're just going off of that, she only had 3 or 4 drinks. So I don't know. For me, I don't know. Now that I'm getting older, you know what? I'm kind of surprised she didn't have a hangover too. But Tina sits down with her and has a conversation with her about the alcohol, and this is what I'm talking about when I talk about people being genuinely concerned for the right reasons. Tina tells Megan that she was really frustrated that she had to go on vacation and become a babysitter because, she's trying to escape the feeling of being a mom all the time. And Megan just wanted to have a good time and not have to worry about her body image issues.
I've been trying to fix and deal with my problems for a long time, and they don't go away. Or for once, I just wish I could look at the mirror and not pick myself apart. Or feel trapped in a body that I hate. I just want to be normal.
But honestly, truly, Tina is actually a really good friend and is very supportive and is good at delivering tough feedback that people need to hear while still being caring and understanding and empathetic. I also appreciate her advice for like just being like, hey, you need to change this voice inside your head.
I changed the voice in my head. When she starts trying to tell me something bad, I choke that bitch and I say something better.
I'm not into choking.
That's a lie.
Megan, what you know about choking, huh, girl? What do you know about choking? But all jokes aside, this is truly what I mean when I was starting off this whole video about them just like caring about one another and supporting one another. Like, Tina delivered critical feedback that was constructive, that was helpful, while also still being supportive, understanding, and committing to helping her with those issues. So the next thing we see is Vanessa bringing in breakfast for everybody. She brings in omelets, bacon, grits, sausage. No, I was going into that. Do y'all remember that like Vine? Eggs, bacon, grits, sausage. But Vanessa's worried about reaching her goal, so all she's eating is a banana and some yogurt. But again, this concept that they took these women on a vacation where it's going to be much harder to like plan for your meals, right? To plan for things that are on your diet plan, whatever, whoever. That was weird. I just said that backwards. Whoever, whatever. You know, it feels weird that they brought them all here. It's like they're like, we're going to test your willpower, your patience, and your desire to do this on this vacation. But it is kind of wild to me that Vanessa can't even stomach just some good old strawberry yogurt. I'm like, girl, that's like real sweet and probably has lots of sugar in it. I don't understand. Strawberry yogurt, you can't do that?
This is nasty.
You didn't like it?
No, it's something about the taste of it that I can't.
You don't like?
It's really good for me. I really do need to eat it, but I'm not gonna eat that.
And Megan does give us some fart adjacent content. We don't get a lot of pee-pee poo-poo jokes over here on the 1,000 Pound Besties, but we did get a whole segment about why Megan can't poop.
I haven't pooped in days. I've drank coffee, I've drank water, nothing's coming out.
And the whole comments, all the comments about the calories going straight to her asshole and blocking her up, like, what the fuck?
Calories went to your ass. It blocked it up. That's what it is.
God.
Wouldn't that make sense?
Her little butthole said, "Oh, okay, so you want to have fun? Here, have a messed up couple days."
God.
But anyways, the girls make their way to the beach, which was the whole reason for this TLC planned outing, was for Megan to go back to the beach because it was something that she told Dr. Proctor she wanted to lose weight so she could do. But Ashley can't go with them because she has to work, which feels weird because then it's like, what's the point if y'all are not doing this one specific thing that y'all came here to do together? Like, I don't know. The way that this show just sleeps on Ashley kind of really rubs me the wrong way, honestly. Like, I would love to see more Ashley. Ashley seems to be, I don't know, the most real one to me, if that makes sense. Like, she seems to be the most realistic about weight loss. She seems to be the most honest about just, like, loving yourself, loving the body that you're in, even if you're trying to lose weight. And I feel like there's more to her. And we just, like, haven't gotten the chance to know her because she's, like, working or not filming with them or not present. It's almost kind of like, why are y'all even including her in the show? Not saying I don't want her included. I do, but it's like, why did you not plan this better to be like, maybe we film the little beach excursion when Ashley doesn't have to work? Like, I don't know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, and it's really irritating to me for some reason. So I'm sorry if that feels nitpicky, but it annoys me, TLC. Like, let's do something about it. Let's pay for Ashley to have a day off from whatever her 9-to-5 job is so she can go down to the beach and film this, okay? Can we do that? And of course, like, we get Vanessa being Vanessa. She's coming out here with this little string bikini moment situation type of deal.
What do y'all think?
Oh, well. It's beautiful. It's definitely unique, and I love the print.
And you know what? Megan and I share some similar concerns that this shit's gonna fall off her at any given moment. It's giving big vibes of like the like shirt dress thing that she's worn a couple times on the show that's just like barely hanging on for dear life. Like, say a prayer if you're religious that this bikini stays on Vanessa the whole time. I will say, I'm glad that Vanessa feels beautiful. I'm glad that she has the confidence to go out and wear whatever she wants, like she should, in a world where, like, fat women are criticized for what they wear all the time. I love that for her. I love that she just wants to wear what she wants to wear. And I'm also kind of surprised that Tina doesn't have a problem with it, because she's literally, like, 3 pieces of fabric away from being nude at the camping ground again. So they go on to the beach. They talk about the struggles of walking through the sand on the beach. I mean, like, I feel that. I hate walking on the beach in the sand. That shit's so annoying. It is kind of difficult even for me, not a morbidly obese person. So I assume that it's probably even more difficult for people who have mobility issues. But they do make it down to the beach. Megan has a moment where she's not feeling comfortable about how she looks in her swimsuit, and she calls it like a granny swimsuit, which is interesting because I really didn't think it was that like matronly or anything. It was like a floral design, but I thought it was cute. I don't know. And I also feel like this is no shade to Vanessa, because I just talked about like how it's great that she feels confident going out and looking like she does. But Megan talked about being worried that people were going to like look at her in her swimsuit. But I would think that if you're like there with Vanessa, like that's what people are gonna look at, right? Like I really feel like Megan didn't have a lot to worry about in that sense. But with that being said, later in the episode at one point she does talk about how she doesn't see the flaws that she sees in herself and other people. So like when she looks at Vanessa, Tina, Ashley, whoever, whatever, she doesn't see them as like being like fat, grotesque, whoever, whatever, but when she looks at herself, that's how she feels. So I kind of get that as well, that like she might not be thinking like, oh, Vanessa is out here looking like Vanessa, but people are gonna stare at me, you know? I don't know. I wish she could absorb some of Vanessa's confidence though, because I feel like she's just as beautiful as Vanessa, honestly. And the girls do make it into the water of the ocean as well, and Vanessa's worried about sharks.
You gotta think, if a shark sees this, don't, he sees something like this,
So the next part of their trip is them going down to the strip of Panama City Beach, I guess, and their little airbrushed tourist shirts looking all cute. And they pass like a concession stand where they're selling like funnel cakes and fair type shit, like all fried food. And Megan is like, well, I gotta get a pickle, y'all. I gotta get a pickle. And I think Vanessa, rightfully so, is irritated that she has to sit in line and look at all of this food that she knows she shouldn't have, while Megan waits in line to get a pickle. And the real reason it seems that they are here on the strip is so that they can go up in this big old Ferris wheel, because Tina wants to like overcome some of her fears related to being in enclosed spaces and also heights. So she said, we're just really gonna go for it, and I'm gonna shove myself in this little tiny Ferris wheel car, and I'm gonna go up, and we're gonna deal with it. And for whatever reason, they pair her with Ashley, which, like, honestly, truly, I feel like her and Ashley seem to be the least close, just based on what TLC has showed us. But also, like I just said, we haven't seen a lot of Ashley. Like, they're really not giving her the airtime that I feel like she deserves. It almost felt like they were trying to, like, force some trauma bonding on these two by just, like, having Tina face her fears with this person she doesn't know super well. Like, I feel like it would have made more sense for Megan to be with Tina, because they seem to have a closer friendship, and Megan probably could have supported Tina in a different way. But now we get Tina and Ashley, and Tina is spiraling. And while she's in the Ferris wheel car with Ashley, she does explain that she has this attitude of like, if something's gonna go wrong, it's gonna go wrong for me specifically. Like, if there's something bad to happen, the bad thing is gonna happen to me. And that's why she has so much fear about just like everything in her life, including surgery. And I do feel like this was supposed to be like this, look, Tina can overcome this fear, she's eventually going to overcome the fear of having gastric bypass surgery. And the whole time that Tina's freaking out over the heights and the enclosed space, we got Vanessa and Megan in a car separate. They're just there with Megan's pickle.
I don't eat pickle.
Don't eat pickle with your eyes closed.
Why not? That's what I usually do.
We get to see a little bit of their trip home, and really the biggest things, there were two things that really happened. And the one for me that resonated closer to my heart, to my heart, my mind, my whole body, was Megan talking about being a horn dog for Dr. Proctor.
At least you get to look at him, Proctor. I mean,
This horn dog. Megan is quite naturally a horn dog, but there's something about Dr. Proctor. I can't explain it to you, the love affair. I think she lost the weight just to keep seeing him, to be quite honest.
And honestly, like, let me gain some weight and lose some weight for you, Dr. Proctor. I'm ready. I'm ready. But the other thing that happens is that they stop at a gas station, probably to refuel, but also to get a snack. And Vanessa talks about how much she's struggling, especially because, like, she's been with her friends all weekend, and, like, she's really trying to not show that she's not staying on track well, but, like, she's with them 24/7, so it's hard for her. She's struggling to maintain her diet, and she is afraid to tell them about it. And so that's pretty much it for their trip home. We don't see much more outside of that. And then the next scene we get is Tina going to talk to Dr. Proctor. If you recall, she agreed to do this just to go talk to him, not to commit to bariatric surgery or anything like that. She does share with him that she did think about getting surgery back in, like, I think 2012 was the year she said, but she started to go onto, like, some social media groups, probably a Facebook group or something like that, where she was seeing all kinds of, like, horror stories about what could happen from the surgery. People who got sick, got hurt, got whoever, whatever. And so she just kind of got too afraid of it and decided to do things on her own. And she talks about how she ended up actually just, like, working on her weight by herself, and she lost 80 pounds, but then ended up gaining it all back and then some. So she weighs in with Dr. Proctor. She mentions that, like, 3 months or something like that prior to weighing in with him, she was, I think, 325, and then more recently she'd weighed herself again and she was 301. And when she weighs in with him on his scale, she is 298 pounds, so she hadn't really lost a lot since the last time that she weighed in. And she talks to Dr. Proctor about how she really just wants to be around for her kids. And he mentions that, you know, that should continue being a concern for her regardless of if she gets surgery or not, but that there are a lot of elderly obese people, and that might be something she wants to take into account. I do find it interesting because they show Dr. Proctor talking about how he's not there to force people into getting surgery.
I'm not here to pressure anybody into surgery. That's not how this works. My job is to inform her of how her body works and how surgery can help her change that physiology.
Which, like, yeah, I'm sure to some extent Dr. Proctor is not forcing anybody to do anything, but can we talk about how TLC pressured her into going and talking to Dr. Proctor to begin with? Can we talk about that? Can we talk about that? Because I really feel like if it wasn't for this show, she would not have been in Dr. Proctor's office talking to him about nothing. Either way, Tina decides that she's going to take a month to keep working on it on her own, and then after that month is up, she's going to come talk to Dr. Proctor about what her options are and what she wants to do moving forward. The next scene we get is Vanessa and Megan going out to eat. I, again, think it's interesting that they put them in situations like this when they could just get together at their own house or homes and have this conversation. I mean, we see Amy and Tammy doing this stuff all the time in their own homes, so I don't understand why everything has to be an outing somewhere to do something, especially because we know that Vanessa is limited on money and they're also trying to stay on diets. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Maybe I'm just being overly annoyed and nitpicky about this, but it doesn't make sense to me. Either way, they meet up because they want to talk about a high school reunion that Tina wants them all to go to, and Megan and Vanessa are a little unsure about whether or not that's something they really want to do. Vanessa says that the reason she doesn't really want to go is because she was bullied for her weight in high school, and she really clearly has like continued to gain weight since then, so she doesn't feel like it's going to be a great experience. Megan, on the other hand, is worried that she doesn't look as good as she did in high school, and similarly, people will have a lot of thoughts about how she looks and things like that. Which I think is like relatable for a lot of people going back to high school reunions and things like that. You know, there's always a lot of things built up about like, oh no, what will people who I knew in high school think of me? But honestly, truly, my opinion about it, well, I haven't gone to a high school reunion, not because of any of that. Like, I think when they had the 10-year one, I was busy. I think I was busy, which is why I didn't go. But like, for me, honestly, like, why do I give a fuck about what people I haven't talked to in years think about me now, you know? That's my thoughts about it. Which then, I guess, lends itself to like, why do I even want to go to a reunion anyways? So, I don't know, maybe I'm just on a different page. So they order food, Megan gets the skinny chicken, whatever the fuck that means, and Vanessa gets a Cajun sampler. Megan has a lot of concerns over what Vanessa is choosing to eat. But Vanessa talks about her experiences lately where she's like trying to eat less food, and because she's trying to like manage her diet, it's bringing up a lot of other emotions, and thus the food is just popping up.
Lately, I have been in a bad mood, going through bad issues that I've been having in my mind from my past. The food speaks to me literally, as in I will look at the food.
We have the sampler for you.
Oh gosh. And it's, hey.
Honestly, it's giving me big energy of the sound on TikTok from Little Women Atlanta, where the twins come in and they're like, hey everybody.
How y'all doing?
But anyways, Megan suggests that Vanessa come with her again to her therapy appointment, and the therapy appointment is the very last thing we have on this week's agenda of the episode. So they do visit the therapist, and a lot of you actually on the first episode that the therapist was here for 1,000 Pound Besties mentioned that this particular therapist is well known in like the bariatric surgery community, and she does a lot of therapy for that specific area in general. So that's good to know. We did see her also in the 1,000 Pound Sisters, and it seems like she also might have some kind of relationship where she works with Dr. Proctor. So I love it. She seems to be a very helpful therapist. Megan's the first one that starts off the therapy session, and she does talk to the therapist about her drinking problems that she kind of like encountered on their trip in Florida. And she talks about how it helps her feel less self-conscious about herself, and it also just like helps her loosen up. And I really do think this therapist seemed to be very helpful, at least to Megan. She talked with Megan about needing to learn ways to replace her coping with food that wasn't something like alcohol. And she also does this like exercise with Megan where she asks Megan to talk about something that she doesn't like about herself and replace it with things that she does, like positive things that she likes about herself. So for example, Megan says, "My legs are disgusting," and then she makes Megan say, "I refuse to abuse myself," and then say something nice about herself. So she talked about how she actually really liked her eyelashes and how her eyelashes made her look beautiful. I felt like that was really helpful. Megan talks about how she has a fear of failing. And in this situation, Vanessa is another example of being like just so supportive. Like, get a friend like Vanessa. And, you know, Vanessa may have her own problems in her own life, but the way she talks to her friends is so supportive and so helpful. She just like really encourages and pushes Megan to keep saying positive things about herself, to take time to care about herself, to give herself some leeway to make mistakes, but also to keep working, and because everything's gonna take time. I will say, I do wish that they could all support themselves in the same ways that they do support each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wish that they could take the energy that they give to one another and give it to themselves, because I think that that's like where they're failing themselves. And then right at the very end, we get just a little bit of Vanessa's experience with the therapist. She talks about how she finally moved out of Jackie's house. She mentions that she's been having a lot of like thoughts about her past because she hasn't been able to always go to food to deal with those things, to deal with those emotions. And the therapist talks about how that's like really good self-awareness, which I agree. And then she just gets ready to talk about how there are some things in her past that she hasn't been able to work through both physically and emotionally, but then we don't get to find out what that is. That's the cliffhanger for next week. So come back next week and I'm sure we'll learn more about what Vanessa shares and her experience with the therapist. And speaking of next week, it looks like we'll get to see Vanessa going to get some tests done to see if she's even eligible for surgery, like if her body could handle surgery. We get to see Jackie make a comeback, which like I am fascinated by Jackie. I think she's like a very toxic person for her relationship with Vanessa. But I will admit I'm looking forward to seeing her on the screen again. I do find her interesting, fascinating, entertaining. And then I think we're gonna probably get a cliffhanger at the end of Vanessa and Megan going back to see Dr. Proctor for their next weigh-in. I think we're gonna get, that's probably where the episode is gonna end, and it's gonna leave us on some kind of cliffhanger of like, oh, did Vanessa make the weight? or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Classic cliffhanger for these shows. So anyways, that's all for today. I don't know. I think that this episode was a little bit more uplifting than some of the past episodes, but I'm sure that'll change next week with Jackie coming back. So if you missed the drama this week, just make sure to come back for that. If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe down below. I do have a playlist of all of the 1,000 Pound Bestie videos that I have if you want to go back and catch up on those. Also, make sure to subscribe if I didn't already say that. Hit the bell button so you get a notification every single time I post a new video. Leave me a comment about your favorite thing on the episode this week. Click share, click like, follow me on all of my social media at thezacharymike. Check out my merch. And of course, have a wonderful day. I'll see you all next time. Bye!